Hello, everybody. Drasko here from uplevelmind.com, where my main mission is to help heart-centered entrepreneurs who know all the business strategies realize their next revenue milestone by mastering what's between their ears. And for today's episode, we have a real talk segment where I bring in a heart-centered entrepreneur who isn't seeing the consistent, stable growth in their business. And then live on the call, I get to help them get out of their own way on one inner challenge they're currently experiencing towards their next business upgrade. And for today's guest, we have Martina Wall, who is a curvy self-love guide who is empowering women to find self-love at any size through many different holistic approaches, helping women to accept and respect their bodies, show up for life with confidence, and find their purpose. All areas of your life change when you're able to love who you see in the mirror. That's exactly what Martina is about, and definitely a message that I agree with 100%. So Martina, thank you very much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on here. I'm super excited.
I'm super excited as well, especially I don't know what you know about my story, but I actually owned a brick and mortar weight loss center for 10 years. And self-love is something that oftentimes, we had more discussions about than just like, okay, what do I eat or how do I eat it? And, whatever. So I'd love for you to dive into how you got into this space, what you're all about, why you do what you do. Break that down for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my journey did actually start with weight loss is how my journey started. I kind of, after kids, I felt like, just betrayed by my body. And so, according to diet culture and society, I was, kind of told that the only answer to be happy after, your body has changed in becoming a woman and a mother was to go on a weight loss journey. So I did do that. I set my mind to losing almost 100 pounds. And when I got to the end of that journey, I kind of looked at myself in the mirror one day and realized that I still hated myself exactly as much as I did 100 pounds heavier. So the answer did not lie in my weight loss. It lied in getting to know myself on an inner level and doing that inner healing to be able to reflect who I am on the inside, reflect who I am on the outside. And so, and that's, I think, a big, gap in the weight loss industry is that they never connect it to actually connecting back to your body and doing that inner healing alongside with, taking care of your body physically and nourishing your body and all these different things. So that's kind of where my journey started, was to realize that I needed to do the inner healing first. And so when I started to do that, incorporating all these different holistic approaches that I now teach women about, is just really connecting so much of, our eating and our exercise and our inner growth and personal development back to connecting back to our bodies and from that perspective. So that's kind of what's brought me to my business now, is just showing women that same way to know that, the inner healing has to start first. And yes, you take care of your body physically and you nourish your body and you nourish your mind and your soul. But a big part of it is that inner healing that is often neglected.
Absolutely. And I think it's such a focus. Like you said, you can get to the destination. Like I lost the weight. I'm at like quote unquote where I should be.
Yeah.
But yet nothing's really changed about how I look at myself. Right. And I've had those same experiences in my own journey where it's like, I like, regardless of what I weighed, like if I look back at pictures or whatever, because that was kind of my story growing up as well. It was like, no matter what, I still thought I needed weight to lose, like whether I was heavier, whether I was lighter, whether I was in between, it was like almost irrelevant. I saw that happening in clients as well. So what I'm curious about then is what, like, kind of how did you go about realizing that process, and like what's the process you went through to actually change that within you?
So after I kind of came to the realization and the devastation that happiness didn't lie in a number on the scale, it is actually when I actually took my first yoga class, is really when the big transformation started to happen within me. Yoga class was always something I was afraid of, being a larger person, thinking that I couldn't do it because I was a certain weight. And so I decided to take the leap. A friend had encouraged me to do so. So I took my first yoga class, and that's literally where I feel like I met myself on the mat that day. And that kind of transformed into me. Like, I feel like immediately after my first yoga class, I signed up for yoga teacher training, and yoga just brought me home. And it's really what allowed me to connect physically to the movement of yoga, but to the connection of the body. And that's really where my journey started. And then it evolved into kind of opening me up to all these different holistic side of, uh, treating your body with respect and accepting your body, and doing this through like aromatherapy and crystals, and more of the mystic side with the crystals and the oracle cards. And journaling was a really therapeutic practice for me, that allowed me to really tap into my innermost feelings and my journey that way. So um, that's kind of what brought me to the inner healing part. Is really the start of it was my yoga practice.
Got it. Okay, that's a beautiful way to kind of connect the two modalities together, because there's so much about like awareness and tuning in and kind of embodying and seeing what's present, right? Like, well, what's
Yeah.
actually coming up, right? Because it like kind of goes back to like, if the thoughts and the feelings you have about yourself are negative, regardless of what the scale says, unless you tune into that aspect and learn the skills to do that, it's going to be very hard to navigate that whole piece and be happy. So yeah, 100% I agree with you there. So just so that I'm clear then, like right now, what is the nature of your business? Like, what is it that you do with the women and the people that you work with?
Yeah, so it's really just empowering them to, take those brave leaps towards doing that inner healing, and really finding like a balanced way of being by taking care of, making sure that, they're doing movement that they love, not movement to just, burn off X amount of calories, really connecting to movement just because they love it. I work with women with mindful eating. So really connecting to the level of, nourishing your body, but also listening to your body and tuning into your body and what it's telling you, because our bodies are very smart vessels that are very good at telling us, whether we are full or hungry, whether we feel good when we eat this food versus this food. So I do it primarily through those two ways. And then lots of journaling is incorporated into my coaching with my clients. Of just really, connecting to that inner healing part of writing things down and processing emotion and body sensation and all that type of things. And then, of course, I help my clients with yoga and meditation, and then the whole mystic side of things of helping them to discover things through the chakra healing system, through that energy systems there. We work on helping them to tap into their intuition with like crystals and essential oils and stuff like that. So really just kind of like what I've kind of coined my term as is my self-love at any size method, which is kind of those 6 areas of working on the mindful movement, mindful eating, body image practices, self-care and self-esteem, building community, all these different aspects that really create such a, jumping board into taking those brave leaps towards just really, acceptance and respect for your body in all areas of your life.
Beautiful. I love that, because it's such a multi-pronged, holistic approach to
Yeah.
this problem. So kudos to you for diving into it like that. So segueing off of that, then, what are you finding as the biggest challenge towards growing your business?
I do feel like the biggest challenge is probably uh, helping women to see the value in investing in their personal growth, and their body image and all this stuff is really the investment piece. I think people feel like they could be spending their money better elsewhere. Is that they don't, because as women or any person, it's really hard to invest in yourself. And I think that there's a disconnect with the value they see in how important it is, because I tell people this often is I feel like self-love is such of the root of how we show up for everything in our lives. And, our confidence is affected by our self-love, our careers, our relationships. So much of what we do in this life is really connected back to self-love. So I think it's really helping people to realize the importance of taking that journey. And then, of course, on the business side of things, I feel like my biggest struggle is really just connecting client, or connecting people who come across me and who are within my communities, connecting them to the side of like becoming paid clients.
Okay, got it. So on the one hand, what you're finding on the business side of things is the people you speak to, they have a hard time investing in themselves and
Yeah.
don't see the value of things like self-love, even though you know how important that is for the transformation that you've gone through.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like one element.
Yeah.
And then the other side of the equation really just more comes down to like, how is it that I communicate this piece to them? Like, how
Yeah.
would you define? Okay, so the communication piece of it.
Yeah, of like, getting them, because like I think it's probably like the funnel aspect of, nurturing them within all the communities that I provide, free coaching to, and, empowering and inspiring content, converting those people over into people who see the value in investing in what I'm here to help them with.
Okay, got it. And how long have you kind of had this problem surface?
Um, I want to say like I'm still in the growth stage of my business. I feel like I've only been actively kind of narrowed down my vision to my niche kind of audience for probably the last year. Has been like more full-time type of work. So I think it's just getting it off the ground as part of it, but it's kind of been a struggle all along. So I feel like I'm disconnected on some piece of it.
Got it. And what piece do you feel like you're disconnected on?
I think it is like the sales piece. Like I'm not a salesperson, and I fully I fully admit that, but I feel like it's definitely the disconnect of like I'm really good at creating the value and the inspiration and empowerment piece, but and creating the content and the courses and coaching are all my strong areas. But getting people to realize how transformative those things will be if they take that leap towards doing that thing.
Okay, got it. So in that regard, what do you think you're actually selling?
I believe that I'm selling I guess I'm selling an idea of a transformation that's going to happen within you, of being able to go from possibly self-hate to self-love. So selling the idea of, of happiness at whichever size you are, and those kind of things.
Got it. And how many people or how many women that you're a good fit for, do you think get up in the morning thinking what I need in my life is more self-love?
Probably not enough. I think women always are their worst critic. Like you know, our inner critics are very loud, and we are the hardest on ourselves. But I don't think we see the value of necessarily, like you said, waking up in the morning and saying, "Yeah, what I need in my life is more self love." Like that's, our our usually our go-to in the morning is probably, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to, we don't leave much time to take care of ourselves, even never mind focus on self-love. So I do see that that piece.
Got it. Okay. So if you do see it, what do you think they get up in the morning wishing they had?
Well, I think confidence is a big piece of it, because so much of what women do, or what they want to be or become out of their lives, has to do with a lack of confidence. I feel like so many people don't, step out of comfort zones or do things that they actually want to do, really be with the lack of confidence that they have within themselves, of feeling valuable and worthy and important.
So yes, I would agree with you. Is that what's keeping them in the pain that they're in?
Yeah, I think they hold themselves back. And I think that's a big part of how they, the self-hate almost comes from the lack of confidence, because they feel so worthless about themselves, unhappy with their bodies, and happy with the way that they look, most of the time, right?
Agreed. So what I would prompt you here is to consider, is that your viewpoint as the expert and somebody who has gone through the transformation and can see the other side? Or is that the viewpoint from somebody who hasn't yet had the transformation that you've had?
That's true. Yeah, it is probably something that they don't really see because it's not something I saw. Um, when I looking back before my journey, it definitely was focused on, I just had to lose the weight. I just had to, and then, and that's all you're focused on. Like it's always about changing your body. And that's the only way to become a confident person. That's the only way to become a happy person is by doing those things. And so most people probably wake up and that's what they see is that um, I need to eat more vegetables. I need to, starve myself, whatever it is, right?
And if you were to piggyback off of where they were at in those states
Mm-hmm.
and got them in the door by relating to where you were, whatever amount of years ago before you went through your transformation,
Yeah.
but then gave them the real antidote of self-love, would that be okay for you?
I think so. Like I really like a big part of my journey has been kind of like the stepping away from the diet industry and I really don't want to promote that. Like that's not sorry. That's not at my core of who I want to help. Although I need to get them past that. I see that of, getting them into the door thinking that this is going to help them, but really it's so much deeper than that, right?
Correct. So really what I'm getting at is like, okay, if you don't want to lead with diet, I think that that's totally fine. That's totally valid.
Right.
But if you're leading with the post transformation,
Yeah.
it is going to be disconnected from where their actual experience is, right? And you see that in your answer about yourself. Like where
Yeah.
I'm at now and how I'm thinking is like a night and day difference of where I was when I started this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true.
So you're trying to sell people to like be where you're at,
Yeah. Right.
while ignoring the you that was you before you went through your transformation. So especially in the industry that you're in, there has to be this level of, give people what they want, like tell people what they want and then give them what they need.
Right. No, that's true. I like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what comes up for you then when I share that?
Well, I think it's probably connecting to the whole more of the side of like taking care of your body physically and nourishing your body, which connects back to a lot of my yoga practice and mindful eating, which are amazing practices to, promote those things, but in a way that's more, shying away from diet culture, but in a way that's like, yes, we're going to get healthier together. We're going to, take these steps towards loving ourselves by, moving our body with yoga and nourishing our body with good food, with mindful eating. Like, I think those are two good aspects of my business that probably can get people in the door thinking that, okay, I do want to become healthier. I want to take those steps towards bettering myself physically and, with my eating.
Absolutely. And then to what degree then do you go about sharing that versus what you talked about before on the self-love piece?
Yeah, I can see how you're definitely like I see the value in leading with that and then having, um components of what I offer people to. Yes, self-love is a part of that, but the focus is more on the physical and the diet, making peace with food and healing your relationship with food, and then having self-love be an aspect of that but not the focus.
Exactly. So it's like what I hear when you speak, it's like what you really sell is like healthy curves through the vehicle of self-love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Absolutely. Yeah.
healthy in my body and I gotten there through self-love and these other practices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're going to have that disconnect when you're trying to sell people on the vehicle, because nobody wants the vehicle. They want the result of the vehicle.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of why I ask you, like, okay, when people get up in the morning, do they really want self-love? no, even though that is what will get them there. What they really want is the result of it. So they don't want to hate their body when they look at themselves in the mirror. They don't want to hide behind pictures, when they're out and about. They want to be able to use their body and not have to say no to activities and making memories with their kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually what it is that you're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the more that you talk about that, the more you're actually going to connect with where people are at and the relief that they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So how does all that land for you?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And I knew those were important aspects of what I offered, but I think you're right in the fact that, so much focus is placed on self-love, where that's really it's such a big open term that can be like, yes, that's the way we want to feel, but how are we going to get there? So I do totally see how the vehicle has to be more of the intuitive eating and the mindful movement and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really think like you already infused the love pieces and the intuitive eating pieces
Yeah.
in just how you show up, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a difference between that and like the messaging, because if you're talking, okay, we're going to do intuitive eating and we're going to do yoga and we're going to like, then people in their minds are thinking, okay, well, a yoga class costs like, $20 a session. And then I don't really care about intuitive eating. Like, I just
Yeah.
want to like essentially like do all these things that I can't do now. Right. Like
Right.
even when I ran my studio, it was like, if I could get people the results they want without ever doing squats, like they would do it. Like nobody really cares
Yeah.
about doing squats, right?
Yeah.
It's like I care about doing squats properly and safely, so that can be the vehicle to what you want. But if I led with squats, like that would be a no bueno situation, right?
Right. Right.
But I think if you're infusing those pieces in what you communicate, like instead
Yeah.
of saying we're going to do intuitive eating and we're going to love ourselves because that's how we get there,
Yeah.
versus saying something like, imagine going to the next, family party where you're not self-conscious, you're getting down, playing with the kids, you take whatever you want and you don't care that your aunt, comments on, or should you really be eating that? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm good with it. And I
Yeah.
take the pictures and I'm smiling. Like that kind of encompasses everything that you're going to be
Absolutely.
doing, but that's really what the image that they want. So does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it totally does.
And how do you see that playing out in the way that you communicate with individuals?
I think it's much more outcome based on really helping people to see or to like take the focus off of this big outcome that you're going to have at the end of it, but allows people to step into the feeling it's going to be, but getting there in having the focus be more of like you have said, like the moving our bodies and all those things, but still getting there, but just in a different way. So it's really the same outcome, it's just a different way to focus it, which I really see people being more easily encouraged by doing something like that, because everyone wants to feel that way. Like that's definitely a feeling that most people maybe don't have, but they want, right? So I definitely see it being more relatable.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? Like you got to matter to the people that need you most in the way that they can relate to it the most,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like you were just speaking to the transformation after they've gone through it instead of relating to the relief that they want on where they're at right now in a way that's relatable to where they're at right now.
Yeah.
Because really your early conversations are about getting them in the door so that you can open up the conversation about making the commitment to jump to that future version of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So in
Yeah.
terms of like the sales bit, like that's really what you're doing is you're presenting where they're at with where they want to go, what the gap is, and how you are the path to actually get them there.
Yeah. No, I love that.
So how does that translate for you in terms of what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it changes, I think, a little bit of my focus, but not really. Like it just kind of brings to the forefront the things that are going to get them in the door, which is really what I want, right? Um, So just by bringing, I have all these tools, let's say within this self-love toolbox of what I'm trying to help people, where I'm trying to help them go. And I feel like it's just picking the things out that are going to attract them the most to what I'm already helping them with, but just really in a way that just makes them more inspired to take that leap, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's like who you fundamentally are, what you fundamentally do doesn't need changing. Like you do a
Yeah.
great job at
Yeah.
that. It's just communicating it in a way that matters to the people that need you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally see that.
Beautiful. So in that case, I know this was kind of like a quick path to like get here, but does this feel complete for you, or is there still something left outstanding?
No, I think it really makes sense. Like, and I think probably looking back at, like we've talked about, looking back at who I used to be, it definitely, that's what would have gotten me in the door. If someone would have promised me, we're going to do some yoga and we're going to work on our eating habits, but we're also going to work on, these inner bits first, like I would have signed up without like the self-love pieces. Cause at that point I didn't find value in that. So I know my old me would have definitely done something like that because it was all about trying to connect physically and to my eating habits and to my movement, right? So I definitely,
Correct.
it's funny, the things that were most important to me is really what used to be most important to me is what really where I have to focus on, which I don't think I connected to before. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and I'm glad to be able to help you because it is such an important mission. It is such an important message to spread, wider. So, the fact that you're the vehicle for the fact that I can help you, definitely pleasure's all mine. So I'd love for you to just kind of sum it up in your own words and in your own experience, like what your biggest takeaways were from today.
Yeah, I think it's just really, I think the biggest takeaway from all of from our conversation today is just that I really needed to strip back the layers of who I am now to who I used to be and really resonate with that person instead of who I am now. Because if I'm resonating with who I am now, that's just attracting, people who, yes, they want that, but they don't know how to get there. So I love how simple it really is when you take away all the layers of just connecting back to that person who felt, desperate and felt like they hated who they saw in the mirror. But what were the things that that person was willing to invest in to better themselves? It was the movement and the healthy eating habits. But so I love how just connecting back to who I used to be is really just so simply how I'm going to attract the people that I need to help. So yeah, so it's beautiful. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, and that was beautifully put, and that's exactly at the heart of everything that we've spoken about, and I'm glad that it resonates.
Yeah.
So I'd love for us to then just close it off. Just tell everybody exactly who's the best person to find you, where can they find you at. Floor is yours to say all that good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So you can find me on most social media places. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Martina Health and Wellness. That is also where you will find me on my website, which is martinahealthandwellness.com. And so just any women who are feeling the kind of pull to take those brave leaps towards finding that mindful movement and those eating habits that are going to help you to feel your best. And so with that, I also have my free communities. My one on Facebook is imperfectlyperfectyou.ca. And that is where you can find my community where there's lots of challenges and giveaways and just support and empowerment as you're starting that journey. And so I have lots of different courses and offerings to help you get started with all this, from anywhere from journaling to yoga to meditation, to working with crystals, and my big program, the Self-Love Revolution with Martina, which is helping you to do all the things that we've kind of talked about today. So I would love to connect with anyone who feels the pull to take that journey with me.
Beautiful. Well, we'll include all of that in the show notes. And Martina, thank you very much for coming on here. And then for everybody else that's listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks very much.